Well, hello everybody, and welcome to part 3. We went from a nice, bright, warm, sunshiny day to a gloomy, overcast, drizzly day. There is our material. As you can see, we have two similar colored beakers, and then one of the tungsten, which is darker, and the other one, which is a bit greener. But I'm going to finish my coffee. We still have a little bit in that big beaker that needs to be dissolved, so I'm going to have to add some more acid to it. But like I said, I'm going to finish my coffee first, and we'll get right back at you. Okay, guys, I have added a little bit more acid to these. This one up here, there are no solids left in it, just the powder in the bottom, which is common from contacts. The tungstens are showing a little bit of reaction when I added a little tiny bit more of nitric. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but we have one contact standing on end right there, and we are getting some very fine bubbles off of it, which means it's still dissolving, so I am going to put a touch more nitric in that one. What you're looking for with this is really like fine bubbles. That tells you that it's dissolving. If you see big bubbles coming up, maybe you can catch it over here, but you see these little bubbles, that tells you that there's still silver in there. If you start seeing bigger bubbles, those are generally just heat generated bubbles from the plate. So we did get some little bit of fine stuff in here, so I am going to put a touch more nitric in here, a touch more in this one, and a touch more in that one, and leave them set, because this piece that is standing up on end over here is showing fine bubbles like it's still dissolving. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and let this stuff finish out. Like I said, that one's done, it's ready to go. So while I'm letting these finish out, I will probably go ahead and filter this one off. Go ahead and test it to make sure it's not going to throw any lead, and we'll let these go until everything's gone. Now, like I said, the tungsten, there is going to be powder and some hard metal left in there. I will gather all that powder together at the end and probably throw it in a little bit of aqua regia just to check it and make sure that there's nothing else in it. There's usually possibly a little bit of gold or maybe some palladium or something like that. But we will do that near the end as well when we start working on our fuse filaments. So I'm going to go ahead and like I said, add a touch more nitric to a couple of these, get set up to filter that one off, and we will do our first drop, probably out of this one up here. So we will be back at you when we're ready to do that. Okay, everybody, we are going to get set up, or I am set up to filter. The bigger beaker is actually slowing down. What I'm thinking is that this was a piece of sponge tungsten that was in this other beaker, this little guy here. I did add more nitric, and it seemed to be sucking all the silver out of that sponge, but I think that piece is going to stay solid. It didn't react hard enough. At the end, I'll throw everything together, you know what I mean, whatever's left over, and hit it again just to be safe. This is what we're going to be filtering first, is this jar. You can see there's a lot of powder in the bottom of this. That's normal when you're doing contacts. It's obviously non-dissolvable by nitric acid, so I always hang on to that and do a little test on it. You know, it could be some palladium in there or something like that, but we'll rinse that powder because that is actually going to have silver. So as we do this and clean it, I'm going to rinse these powders out of the bottom real well, and save that rinse water, because that's what I will be filtering again and adding to our solution to do our drops. So you guys have seen me filter stuff probably far too many times. This is a long, tedious process, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this first one, get it done, and get a coil made and set up to drop it. So we will do that in this video, and we will possibly even get to this one. This one will have to settle. It is finishing up right now. I don't see any more solids in the bottom. So we hit our nitric acids pretty good. The object of doing that is so you don't have any leftover nitric acid. And excuse the background noise back there. I've been putting up with this since they built their little barn back there, and it's almost constant with this. For 20 some odd years it was peace and quiet here, but not anymore. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and get this started filtering it off, get it ready to drop, and when we are ready to do our drops, we'll get back at you. We got a little pot over here warming up on this, but I'll have to put it on the burner for rinse water, and that's about where we are right now. So I'm going to let this big one finish up. This one, I'm not seeing any more reaction out of that piece. I'm going to drop a little piece of silver in there just to be sure that the nitric is as spent as it can be. The thing is you want your nitric acid to get used up as much as possible, so that you're not, redissolving and dissolving copper over and over until it neutralizes out. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, guys. I'll get these filtered off, and then we'll get back at you when we're ready to do a drop. Okay, everybody, we are getting ready and prepared to do the drop. I don't know if you can see how nice that fluid is. What I did was poured it off after we filtered it the first time and ran it through again to get a nice, perfectly clear solution. This is the powder that was left at the bottom. I rinsed that until it was clear, so there was no more color in it. What we're going to do is save that and the filters from inside there for later, and at the end we'll treat it all with aqua regia and we'll see if there's anything else in it. So I'm going to get this poured into our jar for dropping, and we're going to go ahead and do a drop. Okay, everybody, we are going to get ready to do our drop, but before we do that, I am going to do this little test. This is a new pipette. I'm actually just going to take some of this fluid, I'm going to put it down in this test tube, and we are going to stick a piece of copper in it and see what happens. If we get only silver powder, we are good to go. And I'm not seeing any lead. Seeing some nice little silver crystals form. Oh, there came some sunshine just in time to see it. So as you can see, we are getting some nice, pretty little clean crystals, just enough sunshine to show that. So, gonna knock those off. We will pour that back in. And we're going to be ready to rock and roll. So our test turned out good. Let me stir this up. I'll get the camera set up, and we're going to do our first drop of this refine. So I'll be right back at you in just a second. Okay, everybody, we are ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and get this coil dropped in. I will time lapse this, like I usually do. And I'm going to go ahead and start working on filtering out this other batch. But we are ready to go. So here we go. Okay guys, it's sun's starting to go down a little bit. It's starting to get cold. I'm going to have to leave this one settle overnight, and then we'll filter it off tomorrow. I'm currently filtering our other big beaker off. As you can see, it's cloudy. I'll have to run it through the filter again. On the right, we have our drop from our first small batch. On the left is the drop from the tungsten. As you can see, I did a test again for the tungsten to make sure it wasn't going to throw any lead. We're doing good on these right now. I'll actually show you. Shake them off. And we're still getting a really quick jump back of silver, so there's still quite a bit of silver in solution there. I'm going to filter this again, then I'm probably going to call it a day. The powder at the bottom, as you can see in this one, is pretty much similar to the first one. So we will just save that and we will do those together. I am going to keep the tungsten filters separated. Here they are, because you can see the one on the back is really dark and dirty. This batch that we're filtering now did have one tungsten contact in it. You can see the little black film we're getting. It about halfway broke up. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. You can see the edges of it right there in the jar. That's the one that I said wasn't dissolving. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to, this is the last rinse for this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and pour it through that filter, then we're going to pour it off and refilter it again, and I'm going to call it a day. So I will get back with you guys tomorrow. Well, good morning guys. It is the next morning. I don't know how well you can see that. It should be able to see it good. This is our drops from yesterday. This was the first batch that we dropped. This was the tungsten. This was the last one that we dropped. I just stirred it up to pack it down, and it's got to settle down again. Right now out here, even though we've got some sunshine, it is really cold still. So I'm going to let the sun get in here in the lab a little bit more and warm things up. And then we're going to come out. I'm going to start filtering that guy. Apparently that's about as good as it's going to settle, so we'll have to filter it probably a couple times. And then we're going to start rinsing this stuff. I'm not going to show that because it's just repetitive. You guys have seen me rinse stuff before. We're just going to keep rinsing this powder with boiled water till it's good and clean, and then we will start weighing stuff up and tallying it out and see what we got out of these first 4 batches. Then we're going to move on to our bigger contacts, get them going. We're going to do, I did get an email back, we're going to refine that powder in those pieces, the melted pieces, see what we get out of them, and then we're going to start working on our fuse filaments. So as soon as it warms up enough to be out here without having to keep my hands in my pockets, we'll get to it. So we'll be back at you in a bit. Well, hey guys, I actually set these out up here in the sun this morning, and I just shook the coils off again. We are still getting a little bit of silver growth on our coils, so I'm actually just going to leave them sit for now. I'm going to go ahead and filter that other big batch off. I guess just because it's so cold, or has been so cold, you know, this is just going really slow. So I'm going to let these coils sit in here again. Like I said, I just shook them off a couple minutes ago, and make sure that we get all the silver out of this solution before we go to start cleaning it up. So I'm going to go ahead and get that other thing set up, get it filtered, and show you what we're going to do, and we'll get back at you. Okay guys, we still have our other ones sitting up here, and they are still shedding a little bit of silver. I am still filtering off that other batch. I'm going to have to do it a couple more times. Under full vacuum, it's just dripping, so there was really a lot of stuff in there. These were those really big contacts. Being that I only have one 2,000 milliliter beaker, I'm just going to do 3 batches out of this separately. I'm going to go ahead and get one started. I did take a pair of bolt cutters and cut one in half. Pure silver generally doesn't snap when you cut it. This did snap. It just more or less, not like a tungsten would break, but it is alloyed. So I do not know, like I said, the purity of what these are going to be. I counted them out. I'm going to put 19 in each batch, but it's definitely alloyed because it didn't cut soft. I mean, when I got about, well, you can see that little line there. When I got that far into it, it just broke. So, but it is a silver alloy. I'm thinking of some kind. I really don't know what. But we're going to go ahead and get these going, a third at a time in here, because we still have quite a bit of silver. I don't know if you can see it. Let me get around here. Just because of the weather, but you can see we still do have silver falling out of these solutions. That one's just about done. There's barely anything on it, but you can see these guys are still shedding some silver. So I'm just going to let them go. I'm going to go ahead and get a batch of this started while this is filtering, and we'll get back at you guys in a bit. Okay, everybody, I just wanted to show you that we did get our first third of our big contacts going. I've got them going on at a very, very, very low heat just because it's supposed to get cold tonight. So I'm only adding a little bit of acid at a time because I'm fixing to go in. So they are starting to work. I knocked off our coils again on our other ones up here, and I'm not seeing any anything come back on them. So probably tomorrow it'll be all right to go ahead and rinse these. I just want to show you again. I know I keep talking about doing things separately, but this batch actually had a little bit of tungsten in it, and I didn't know it. Okay, now this was a clean batch. You can see the color. This is the tungsten. Just that little bit of tungsten. Look at how the difference in the color between the three of those. These two are almost alike, where this one was just the clean with no tungsten. So I am gonna start rinsing these tomorrow. Then we're gonna actually clean those up after we get all the copper nitrate out of there, get the powder rinsed and cleaned really good. You can see the color better from this angle. Then we're gonna actually heat it up with a little bit of hydrochloric acid, make sure there's no other metal in it, let it boil, rinse it again, and then we're going to dry them out and see what we got out of them. So this bad boy is slowly working, just nice and easy, because like I said, I'm going to go in and leave it. I just have that on barely on just to keep it from getting ice cold. Our other batch I have filtered several times. I don't know if it's the cold, and it's just cloudy, but I am going to just let it sit until it clears up, see if we get any sediment in the bottom of it, and see what happens then, and then I'll filter it one more time and do the drop on that one. So we're going to clean these up tomorrow. We're going to leave this booger sit until it clears up, and we're going to start working on the bigger contacts. So that's 1/3 of them there, so we'll do the rest. Now when we get all this done, then we're going to reprocess his powder that he sent plus the melted material that he sent. So I'm going to go ahead and call this video. It's cold. I'm going in. I'm not going to work out here anymore. It's freezing, and we'll see you guys in part 4.